The story of ancient Egypt is the story of a river. The Nile River was the lifeblood of this ancient land. Every year it flooded its banks, leaving behind rich black soil. This fertile silt made farming possible in the middle of a vast desert. Early people settled along the Nile thousands of years ago. They learned to plant crops like wheat and barley. They also learned to manage the river's floods. This control over water allowed their small communities to grow. They built villages that slowly turned into bustling towns. These settlements were the beginning of a great civilization. Over time, these communities grew larger and more organized. They formed two separate kingdoms around 3400 BC. In the north, where the Nile spread out into a delta, was Lower Egypt. Its king wore a red crown, a symbol of the marshy land. To the south, along the narrow river valley, was Upper Egypt. Its king wore a tall white crown representing the southern lands. These two kingdoms had their own rulers and their own traditions. They often traded with each other, but they also fought for control of the land and the precious river. This division would define the earliest chapter of Egyptian history. Life along the Nile was a cycle of planting and harvesting. The Egyptians developed a calendar based on the river's patterns. This helped them know when to sow their seeds and when to expect the flood. They worshipped many gods, believing they controlled the sun, the sky, and the river itself. Religion was central to their daily existence. They built simple shrines to honor these powerful deities. Their society became more structured, with priests and local leaders guiding the people. This organization was crucial for building canals and food stores. It laid the foundation for a more unified and powerful state. The two kingdoms of Upper and Lower Egypt were distinct but connected. Their histories were intertwined by the flow of the Nile. The people shared a common language and similar religious beliefs. Yet, they remained separate political entities for centuries. The ambition for power grew. Rulers from both regions wanted to control all the land along the river. This desire for unification set the stage for a great change. A powerful king from the south would soon rise. He would bring the two lands together under one crown, starting a new era for Egypt and creating the world's first nation-state. Around 3100 BC, a powerful king from Upper Egypt conquered the north. His name was Narmer, and he is remembered as the first pharaoh. He united the two lands of Egypt into a single mighty kingdom. To symbolize this great achievement, he created a new crown. It combined the white crown of the south with the red crown of the north. This double crown, the Shent, showed that he was the ruler of all Egypt. Narmer established a new capital city at Memphis. From here, he and the pharaohs who followed him would rule for centuries. The age of the dynasties had begun. The pharaoh was more than just a king. He was seen as a living god on earth. The people believed he was the son of Ra, the sun god. He had absolute power over the land and its people. His duty was to maintain Ma'at, the divine order of the universe. This meant keeping justice, harmony, and balance throughout the kingdom. The early pharaohs of the Old Kingdom, roughly 2686 to 2181 BC, commanded great respect. They controlled a strong central government, collected taxes, and organized massive building projects. Their divine status gave them the authority to command thousands of workers. This period is most famous for the construction of the pyramids. These massive stone structures were built as tombs for the pharaohs. They were designed to protect the king's body and help his spirit journey to the afterlife. The first great pyramid was the Step Pyramid at Saqqara, built for Pharaoh Djoser. Later, during the 4th dynasty, the Great Pyramids at Giza were constructed. These were triumphs of engineering and organization. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the largest of all, was built with over 2 million stone blocks. It stood as a powerful symbol of the pharaoh's wealth and his divine connection. Building a pyramid required immense resources and a highly organized workforce. It was not built by slaves as many once believed. Instead, skilled laborers and farmers worked on the pyramids during the flood season, when farming was impossible. They were paid with food, clothing, and shelter. This work was considered a form of civil service and religious duty. These grand projects helped unify the country and strengthen the pharaoh's authority. The Old Kingdom was a time of peace, prosperity, and incredible architectural achievement, all centered on the divine figure of the king. After centuries of stability, the Old Kingdom's power began to weaken. Local governors, known as nomarchs, grew more powerful and challenged the pharaoh's authority. A long period of drought and famine also caused great hardship. Egypt split apart once more, entering a time of chaos known as the First Intermediate Period. But the idea of a united Egypt remained strong. Around 2055 BC, rulers from the city of Thebes reunified the country. This marked the start of the Middle Kingdom, a time of renewed strength and cultural revival. The pharaohs of this era focused on public works, building forts and irrigation projects to benefit the people. The Middle Kingdom eventually faced its own challenges. Around 1650 BC, a group of foreign invaders from Western Asia, known as the Hyksos, took control of northern Egypt. They brought with them new technology that the Egyptians had never seen before. This included the horse-drawn chariot and the powerful composite bow. The Hyksos ruled Lower Egypt for over 100 years. Their presence was a great shock to the Egyptians, who had rarely been conquered. But the Egyptians were resilient. They learned from their conquerors, adopting their military technology and adapting it for their own use. Egyptian princes from Thebes once again rose to drive out the foreign rulers. This victory ushered in the New Kingdom, about 1550 to 1070 BC, the most glorious period in Egyptian history. This was an age of empire and immense wealth. The pharaohs were no longer just builders, they were warrior kings. They used their new, powerful army to conquer vast territories in the Near East and Nubia. Great leaders like Thutmose III expanded Egypt's borders, creating an empire that brought in gold, timber, and exotic goods. The capital city of Thebes became the grandest city in the world, with magnificent temples at Karnak and Luxor. This era produced some of Egypt's most famous and fascinating rulers. Hatshepsut, one of history's first great female leaders, ruled as a pharaoh and oversaw a period of peace and prosperous trade. Akhenaten tried to change Egypt's entire religion, forcing his people to worship a single sun god, the Aten. His son, Tutankhamun, is famous today because his tomb was discovered nearly untouched. The most powerful of all was Ramesses II, who ruled for 67 years. He was a great builder and a formidable general, known for fighting the Hittites at the Battle of Kadesh. The New Kingdom was Egypt's golden age of power, influence, and artistic splendor. After the reign of Ramesses II, Egypt's great empire began a long and slow decline. A series of internal power struggles weakened the throne. Priests grew more powerful, challenging the pharaoh's authority. External threats also increased. Invasions from a mysterious group called the Sea Peoples wreaked havoc across the Mediterranean, and Egypt struggled to defend its borders. The country eventually split apart again, entering another period of instability. Foreign powers saw their chance. For centuries, Egypt was ruled by a succession of outsiders, including Libyans, Nubians, and Persians. Though Egypt sometimes regained its independence, its time as a great world power was over. In 332 BC, a new conqueror arrived, Alexander the Great. He was welcomed by the Egyptians as a liberator from Persian rule. After his death, his empire was divided among his generals. One of them, Ptolemy, took control of Egypt and established a new dynasty. The Ptolemaic rulers were Greek, but they adopted many Egyptian customs to win the support of the people. They ruled from the new coastal city of Alexandria, which became a great center of learning and culture. The most famous of these rulers was Cleopatra VII, a brilliant and ambitious queen who spoke multiple languages, including Egyptian. Cleopatra tried desperately to keep Egypt independent. She formed powerful alliances with two of Rome's most important leaders, Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony. She used her intelligence and charm to protect her kingdom from the growing might of the Roman Republic. However, her fate was tied to Mark Antony's. Their combined forces were defeated by Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus, at the naval battle of Actium in 31 BC. Facing capture, Cleopatra chose to end her own life. With her death, the long line of pharaohs came to an end. In 30 BC, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire, losing its independence for good. Despite its fall, the legacy of ancient Egypt endures. For nearly 3,000 years, it was a civilization of remarkable achievements. The Egyptians gave the world one of the first systems of writing, hieroglyphics, which allowed them to record their history and beliefs. Their knowledge of mathematics and engineering enabled them to build the pyramids and temples that still inspire awe today. Their complex religion gave us fascinating myths and elaborate ideas about the afterlife. From medicine and astronomy to art and architecture, the contributions of ancient Egypt shaped the course of human history. Its culture has fascinated the world for millennia, and continues to be a symbol of mystery, grandeur, and timeless human ingenuity.